Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning,
Good
ma'am.
morning, ma'am.
All right. Now, last day, if you remember, children, that we had finished with the money and banking chapter. And the last thing that we had discussed were the quantitative methods of credit control as well as the qualitative methods of credit control. And in the previous lesson, we had also discussed the different functions which are performed by the commercial banks and that of the central bank, right? So today what we are going to do is something which are called as case studies. Now children, this is part of your syllabus and you are expected to do case studies on basically three topics. One is inflation, the other one is banking, and the third is factors of production. So since we have just completed our discussion on money banking in the last two lessons, so today we will be doing two such case studies which will be related to your money and banking chapter, right? Now, why the need for case studies? Case studies are basically needed to explain or rather to understand the concepts which have been taught and how they are exactly related to real life situations. So you must remember that particularly with banking, it's something which is a very interesting topic, and all the different concepts that you have learned in banking, whether you talk about the different kinds of accounts that a person holds or the different functions which are performed by the commercial bank as well as the central bank, they have very practical applications in our real life. And these case studies are taken basically from journals, they can be taken from newspaper extracts. So, and these case studies basically reflect all these various concepts. So, but one thing you must remember that they are not like your comprehensions, that the answer will be there itself. Questions will be based on your syllabus or on the portion which you have done, right? So before we do any such case studies, children, today we'll just quickly go through whatever we have learned in the last two lessons. That is a quick recapitulation of those particular concepts before we start doing our case studies. All right. So I'm sharing my screen with all of you. Now, since my case studies are particularly related to two particular things, that is why I've picked up these few things for recapitulation. So, if you remember the functions of commercial banks which we had done, and which were the two major functions of commercial banks? What are the two major functions which are performed by the commercial banks?
Ma'am, acceptance of deposits.
Right, very good, Chishta. And
Provide.
providing loans. Right, absolutely correct. So the first function is acceptance of deposits. And if you remember, we had basically spoken about three major kinds of deposits which are accepted by the commercial banks, right? So as you can see, the first kind is the savings account deposits. And the savings account deposits are mainly for whom? They are for the households. And why? Because they have some ideal cash at hand, and if they want to earn some interest on those savings, then they can go and save them in the different commercial banks. And what are the benefits of such deposits? These deposits are payable on demand, they can be withdrawn by checks, but definitely there are always certain limitations which are imposed by the banks. And what kind of interest? A very nominal rate of interest is paid on such accounts. And as I've told you before also, that due to the ongoing pandemic, these interest rates on these banks have undergone a sea change, right? That means the interest rates have been lowered from time to time, particularly post pandemic. And as of now, the lowest interest rate I think is offered is 3.5%, maximum being 5.5%, just for certain banks. Okay, that's for your information. Now, coming to the second kind of an account, that is the current account deposits. Do you remember, children? Current account deposits are held by which category of people mainly?
Ma'am, traders and business.
Traders and businessmen.
Right, traders and businessmen. And why do you think they are beneficial? Because as we can see, and we had learned last time also, that money kept in these accounts can be easily withdrawn by checks without any restriction on the amount as well as the number of withdrawals made. And banks are also benefited by having these accounts. Why? Because banks do not have to pay any interest on deposits in these accounts. Moreover, since the banks provide a lot of other services, like it could be collection of check payments, payments through checks, issuing drafts, etc., the banks earn rather certain service charges on these accounts. So that is why it is a win-win situation almost for both the banks as well as the customers. So that's why these current accounts are very much beneficial for the traders and the businessmen. Okay. Now coming to the fixed deposit accounts. Fixed deposits, also called as time deposits or term deposits. And these deposits, children, can be basically made for a longer period of time. The idea is you invest your money for a long period of time and you get a good rate of interest. But the money on these accounts cannot be collected by checks or they cannot be withdrawn by checks, etc. So you can only withdraw them at the end of the maturity period. Okay? However, the rate of interest on such accounts is much higher. And another kind of recurring deposit, fixed deposits is recurring deposit. Now, these recurring deposits are basically another type of fixed deposits where a certain amount of money is kept at regular intervals instead of a lump sum amount at one go. All right, so that's the basic difference between a recurring and a fixed deposit account. Any questions still here? Whatever we have discussed. Can I proceed, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, coming to the next function as it was given by you people only, that is providing loans. And mainly we have four major kinds of loans which are provided by the commercial banks. The first, as you can see on your screen, are the outright or the short-term loans. Now, these banks provide these loans for a fixed period. The entire amount is sanctioned and credited to the borrower's account, and he pays interest on the entire amount which is borrowed. However, the cash credit is not something like that. Okay, so here the bank opens an account on in the name of the borrower, and the entire amount is not credited, but the bank allows the borrower to withdraw as and when required. And interest is charged only on the amount which is actually withdrawn and not on the entire amount sanctioned. So that's a major difference between a cash credit and an outright loan. Okay, so in cash credit, you can withdraw as much as you want by drawing checks, but the entire amount is never sanctioned to your account, right? The third is overdraft facilities. Overdraft facilities are when an account holder is allowed to withdraw a certain sum by drawing checks in excess of the amount which is deposited with the bank. And the borrower has to pay an interest on the amount which is withdrawn. And the businessman, for the businessman, this is the easiest way to borrow money, right? And the fourth is the discounting bills of exchange, right? Discounting bills of exchange are also a method of lending. Why? Because in such cases, what happens? Does anyone remember what's the procedure? Then you can explain without me doing it. Discounting bills of exchange. Okay, yes.
Ma'am, in discounting bills of exchange, a bill of exchange, It's drawn by the creditor on the debtor,
Right,
specifies the amount and date of payment,
right,
and
and
it's issued for a period of around 90 days.
very good.
And if the creditor he needs money before the due date, he can get it discounted from any commercial bank, and the bank it makes the payment to the creditor after deducting the commission, its commission.
Absolutely correct. And finally, and actually, ultimately, the commercial bank can get the money from the debtor after the completion of 90 days. So that is very good, Chishta. So that is another method of providing loans, right? And we straight move on to something which, if you remember, we had done in the last class, that is the quantitative methods of credit control. We are moving here because the other case study that we will be discussing is based on the quantitative methods, right? Now, quantitative methods of credit control, if you remember, children, these are such methods where the amount of credit is restricted, the flow of credit is restricted in the economy. And does anyone remember any one of the some of the instruments which are used for such cases?
Bank rate, repo rate, cash reserve ratio.
Open
Right.
market
Cash,
operations.
open market.
Yes, absolutely correct, children. So I'll just tell you. So one is the cash reserve ratio. The other one is the open market operations, as you pointed out. There is also something called as a repo rate and the reverse repo rate. And anything else that you can remember, children?
Now, bank rate and statutory liquidity ratio.
Very good, Bhumi. So,
Liquidity adjustment facility.
yes, liquidity adjustment facility is the same thing as your repo and the reverse repo. That means where you are basically trying to adjust the flow of liquidity in the market for a very short period of time, right? And other than that, as Bhumi pointed it out to us, we also have the SLR or the statutory liquidity ratio, as well as the bank rate, right? So these are some of the concepts that we have already discussed, children, and today we will be discussing two case studies. But children, before we discuss the two case studies, I would also like you to go through two videos, right? We'll take it one at a time, and these videos are taken from one of the RBI's bulletins which was done, and the other one is a taken from a news channel, right? So we'll just watch that first.
The Reserve Bank has announced new rules, or rather new restrictions, on the opening of new current accounts. But first, a preface. Uh, Banks love current accounts because they don't pay any money, no interest is paid on money kept in current account. And one of the industry practices has been, therefore, that private sector banks have moved very fast to provide cash management solutions to attract current accounts. This is the backdrop, and what has the Reserve Bank announced? The Reserve Bank has said that borrowers hereafter will open current account only from banks from whom they have a substantial amount of borrowing. That is, banks which have lent them more than 10% of their total exposure shall alone be eligible for opening current account, or even what you call CCOD accounts, cash credit and overdraft accounts. So only banks who have given them more than 10% of their total loans will open these accounts. The others can open collection accounts. But a collection account is pretty useless for a bank because the entire money has to be given to the current account fellows by end of day. So the banks don't make any money. Why is Reserve Bank announced it? Very noble intent. The idea is a bank which has loaned to a borrower should be able to see the cash flow. If I loan to you, but you keep the current account, the overdraft and cash credit in some other bank, how will I know how you are performing? And therefore, it is not just the lead bank, but any bank which has more than 10% exposure should has the right to have the current account. These are the Reserve Bank rules. But you look at what happens to the industry. There's quite a consternation. in the banking sector. And I'll tell you why. Here is a Morgan Stanley report on the market share. The market share of non retail loans.
All right. So, did you find that video related to what all you have studied, right? So basically, they are talking about a current account policy which has been brought by the RBI, right? Now, children, you must understand that post this pandemic, or even during, the last 6 months have been really difficult, not only for us as individuals, but for the entire economy. So the entire economy has undergone major changes, and the Reserve Bank of India, or the central bank of our country, had to introduce a lot of policy changes in these few months. So this was one of the policy changes which was brought by the RBI related to the current accounts. And as you know, that current accounts are mostly held by, as you people have pointed out, that they are mostly held by traders and businessmen, and these current accounts are very much beneficial for them. But at the same time, the new rule that has been brought in by the RBI is that current accounts will be opened only in such banks where they have also taken loans, right? So because suppose you are taking loan from someone but you have a current account in some other bank, so the bank is unable to see how much of earnings you are having, because the businessmen's entire earnings, whatever income they are earning, they are all stored in the current account. So if you are having a current account in such a bank where you are also taking a loan, so that means the particular bank in question will be able to track your record as to how much of cash flow is coming. So with respect to that, we have this case study, right? So so this is your case study one, and I'll just read it out to you. The RBI has reviewed and issued revised guidelines for opening of current accounts by banks to ensure discipline among the borrowers. As per this, banks have been instructed not to open current accounts for customers who have availed credit facilities in the form of cash credit or overdraft from the banking system, and all transactions which shall be routed through the CCOD account. So the RBI says that where a bank's exposure to a borrower is less than 10% of the exposure of the banking system to the borrower, while credits are freely permitted, debits to the CCOD account can only be for credit to the CCOD account of that borrower with a bank that has 10% or more of the exposure of the banking system. And in case customers who have not availed this facility, banks may open current accounts. As per the new guidelines, so banks are not allowed to route any withdrawal from term loans through current accounts. Since these term loans are only meant for specific purposes, the funds should be remitted directly to the supplier of goods and services, right? And this has to be done within 3 months from this date of circular. Now, as I've told you, children, that these extracts are taken from various newspapers, or maybe from circulars which are being issued by the RBI. Now, this extract will not have your answers, but definitely concepts which have been taught to you, right? So let us look at the questions. Okay, so first is, why are current accounts beneficial for businessmen? So can anyone give me the answer for this? Why are current accounts beneficial for businessmen?
Ma'am, they can use current accounts to make payments as and when they need, and it is like they can store their money in the bank without.
Right. So they can withdraw it by checks without any kind of restrictions imposed on them. So that is why it's very much beneficial for the businessmen. Okay. Second question says, mention two other ways by which banks accept deposits from the public. So we have seen in the case study a mention of the current account. What other accounts can be
Ma'am,
held by? Yes, Abhyam?
ma'am, fixed deposit and a recurring deposit account.
Okay, fixed deposit
Saving
and
deposit.
Right, Mithika, savings deposit. Abhyam, I will not take recurring over here because recurring is a type of fixed deposit only. Okay, so if you are talking about the different types, then we will go by the savings account, the current account, and the um, current account and the savings account and the term deposits, right? Okay. Next is, how is cash credit different from an overdraft facility? Very briefly, you can explain.
Ma'am,
Yes,
uh,
Bhumi?
overdraft facility, the current account holder can withdraw more money than is in the account, and he has
Right,
to pay interest on the amount overdrawn. But
right,
in cash, it is the borrower, and he can have any account in the bank and he can borrow extra, and he has to pay the amount on interest on the amount borrowed.
right. So cash credit is a kind of a loan where the entire amount is not sanctioned to the borrower, but a loan account is opened in the name of the borrower. All right, and he can withdraw checks using that loan account, and he will pay interest only on the amount which is withdrawn by him. Right. Okay. Let's look at the next question. What are term loans, and give the other name for term loans? What's the other name for term loans, dear?
Outright loan.
Outright.
Correct. Outright loans. Very good. And what are term loans? How are they different from cash credit?
The interest is paid for the whole sanctioned amount and not just the amount borrowed.
Right. So that means the entire amount is sanctioned to the borrower and he pays interest on the entire amount. Right. Okay. And finally, we have what are recurring deposits. Abhyam had already mentioned about recurring deposits. So, recurring deposits, anyone?
Ma'am, fixed amount of money
Right.
is regular.
Right, a fixed amount of money is saved at regular intervals of time. Uh, okay, fine. So this is the first case study, and these are the questions related to that. So now, do you get an idea of how the case studies will be given for your examination also, and how you're supposed to answer? Is it clear to everyone? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so before we move on to the next case study, I would like you to again just watch a video. Okay.
The accommodative stance of monetary policy as long as necessary to revive growth, mitigate the impact of COVID-19 while ensuring that inflation remains within the target going forward. The marginal standing facility rate and the bank rate remain unchanged at 4.25%.
All right, children, uh, can you identify who is this person?
Governor of RBI.
Right, he's the governor, he's the present governor of RBI, right? You can see the symbol behind also. So he is giving a press bulletin as to the changes in the policies. Okay, so let's watch it a
The
little.
reverse repo rate also stands unchanged at 3.35%. In the MPC's assessment, global economic activity has remained fragile and in retrenchment in the first half of 2020. A renewed surge in COVID-19 infections in major economies in July has subdued the has subdued some early signs of revival that had appeared in May and June. Global financial markets, however, have been buoyant, with return of risk-off sentiment inserting a disconnect from the underlying state of the real economy. The MPC noted that in India too, economic activity had started to recover from the lows of April and May. However, surges of fresh infections have forced reclamping of lockdowns in several cities and states. Consequently, several high-frequency indicators have leveled off. Against this backdrop, the MPC was of the view that supply chain disruptions on account of COVID-19 persist, with implications for both food and non-food prices. A more favorable food inflation outlook may emerge as the bumper Rabi crop harvest eases prices of cereals, especially if open market sales and public distribution offtake are expanded on the back of significantly higher procurement.
All right, children. So, as you can see, the RBI governor addressing the press, and as I've pointed it out to you before, also that due to the COVID situation, there have been constant policy changes which have been introduced by the RBI. So, the repo rate and the reverse repo rate, which you just saw now in the video, the repo rate stands at 4% and the reverse repo at 3.25. Now, these rates had gone a change in the months of April also, but this is taken in the month of August. So, and this has been uh, uh, fixed, all right, as of now. There are no more changes as of now. So, let's look at the case study related to this, children. So, this is our case study 2, and I'll just read through it. It's taken from Economic Times, dear. The RBI, in its second bi-monthly monetary meet held on August 6, decided to keep the key policy rates unchanged with the accommodative stance. The pause has come after 2 consecutive rate cuts in March and May 2020. Post the announcement, the repo and the reverse repo stands at 4% and 3.35%, respectively. A status quo on the rates could be good news for the fixed deposit investors, as banks have been continuously cutting rates on deposits for more than a year now. And some FD tenures now fetch lower interest rates than the savings accounts. For borrowers, though, a pause on the rate cuts by the Apex Bank could mean that banks too will pause cutting interest rates on the loans. All right. So as you can see that now he was constantly mentioning about something called as MPC. This MPC, children, is nothing but the Monetary Policy Committee, right? So you have learned that what is the meaning of monetary policy? That means policies which are undertaken by the Reserve Bank of India. And these policy changes are done from time to time depending on the situation that the economy is going through, right? So let's look at the questions related to the case study. Define the reverse repo rate. Anyone? We just discussed it.
It's the interest rate at which the Reserve Bank it borrows money from commercial banks at a very short period of time. Yeah, that's called the reverse repo rate.
Very good. And the idea basically, children, is to pump out the excess liquidity from the system. So, Chishta, as you were mentioning before, that you had mentioned about liquidity adjustment facility. So, this reverse repo and the repo rate, these are the two instruments which are used to control this liquidity for a short period of time, right? So, that's a reverse repo rate. Very good. How is the repo rate different from the bank rate? Anyone? Kushi, do you remember the repo rate? Reverse repo rate, Chishta has just pointed out, it is the rate at which RBI is borrowing from the commercial bank. So what will be the repo rate then? Anyone?
Ma'am, it's the interest at which the commercial banks borrow from the RBI.
Right. So it's the other way around. It's the rate at which rather the RBI is lending to the commercial banks for a short period of time. And the interest rate which is charged in such a case, that is called as the repo rate. Is that okay, Bhumi? Kushi?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, what about the bank rate? We just now discussed the bank rate also.
Ma'am, bank rate is the minimum rate at which the RBI it gives loans and advances to the commercial banks, or
Right.
it recounts the bills of exchange
Right.
and the government securities which are held by commercial banks.
Right. So bank rate is definitely another rate at which the RBI provides loans to the commercial banks by various means, but that's for a long period of time. So whenever we are talking about short-term liquidity management, it is the repo and the reverse repo rate, right? How does the bank rate help to control the flow of credit in the economy?
Ma'am, during inflation, the central bank increases the bank rate, which causes an
Yes,
increase in the lending rates of the commercial banks.
right.
There's a fall in the investment in the economy. And during deflation, the bank rate is decreased, which leads to a decrease in the interest rate of the commercial banks. Therefore, it encourages credit.
Absolutely correct. Very good. So basically, whenever we are talking about changes in the economy, it particularly refers to inflation and a deflationary situation. And these different credit control instruments are used by the RBI at different points of time in either during times of inflation or during times of deflation. So to bring about some stability in the economy, these instruments are very, very important. Right. All right, let's look at the second last question. Briefly explain two other quantitative credit control instruments. So we've already mentioned the repo and the reverse repo. We've mentioned the bank rate. Which are the other quantitative credit control instruments? Can you just name them?
Ma'am,
Open.
cash reserve ratio.
Open
Right.
market.
Cash reserve ratio, open market operations. Anything else? And
Statutory liquidity ratio.
stat,
SLR,
right.
SLR,
SLR, right, Abhyam?
liquidity ratio,
Statutory liquidity ratio.
open market operation.
Yes, yes. Thank you. What is meant by a qualitative method of credit control? So all this while we were talking about quantitative methods. What is a qualitative method of credit control?
Ma'am,
Yes. Other than Cheshta, anyone else?
Ma'am, when the RBI when it wants to check the flow of credit on the basis of its quality, the
All right. Basis of its quality. That means in quantitative credit control, children, the main idea is to control the amount of credit which flows into the economy as well. But on the other hand, if you talk about qualitative credit control, it's the quality of credit. That means the purpose for which the credit is given. So here the banks, or basically the RBI, they direct the commercial banks as to which sectors should get more credit and which sectors should get less credit. So you are basically deciding on the purpose for which the loan will be given, right? So those are qualitative methods of credit control. So I hope, children, that your rather the concept of a case study and how to answer questions is clear. Yes or no? Is it clear to all
Yes,
of you?
ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, since these two case studies we've already
Yes,
discussed, what you will be doing is that you will be writing them down in your notebooks, and an assignment will be created in the Google Classroom, and you must upload your assignment in the Google Classroom over there. Is that clear? All right. Okay. So these are your two case studies once again. So case 1 and case 2, right? That's it. So you will definitely finish these questions and you will upload them in the Google Classroom against the assignment which will be created. Okay. Thank you.